everyone. Today we are going to talk about Java and how it has established itself as one of the top programming languages for business applications throughout the years. Right now, in 2022, it looks that Java programming powers a large portion of the software used in the real world to conduct businesses and execute tasks. Without a doubt, Java has a bright future and will continue to do so. Java programmers are always in demand. Despite increasing competition from other languages, Java remains the most widely used programming language. Thus, it is thought that Java has a promising future. And with that, I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone to our fourth session on Java programming framework. The concepts that we will be discussing throughout this session are using the Java virtual machine, and then followed by benefits of just-in-time compilers.
It's not like your core Java you understood, now everywhere you are going to write J2EE code. No, it will always comprise the core Java within it, wherever it is applicable. Okay, but underlying concept is only and only your basic Java, what it is implementing, right? Now, before we start up with what JVM is, let me to repeat. I am a Java developer. I wanted to write my own Java application, right? So very fundamental, logic. I wanted to develop something. So I should have a tool specific to develop that particular entity. I wanted to design or develop furniture. So I would need a hammer, screwdrivers and many more such tools, right? Similar way, to write any Java application, I would need something called development kit, and that is what JDK we have to download. I already showed you the link. I'm going to show it to you again. Now, what your JDK is comprising of? My JDK is comprising of two more entities within itself, and they are as JRE runtime environment and JVM virtual machine. Now, let me explain you why these two are required. JDK development kit obviously required because I am writing my own Java code and I may be testing it as well before executing. I may be compiling it, right? So I would need all these tools in my system to support the development of my Java application. Okay, that is fine. What is JRE then for? So my JDK is including all its predefined classes API. Okay, so I would rather name it as it is including something called as API, which we will use to write our own program, just like your header file. Okay, fine. Then what is JRE? Let me explain you the JVM first, because that comes first in the picture and then your JRE comes into the picture. My JVM is known as virtual machine, that is Java virtual machine, which enables any computer, any system to run Java program as well as any program written in other language. Okay, so JVM is basically containing an architecture for supporting the conversion of your .class file into .exe depending upon the type of JRE. Am I clear? So it is basically acting as an engine. So when I say it is a JVM, It is acting as an engine which is providing a runtime environment. Okay. So what is it doing? You have written your code, compiled that with your Java C compiler, given it to your JVM in a .class format, which is JVM specific bytecode. Now this JVM specific bytecode could not be understood by my operating system. So my JVM converts this .class into .exe and gives it to your Java runtime environment by converting it to binary code. So this is my byte code and this is my binary code, BI. Okay. So what is it taking care about? It is mainly an environment to drive the Java code or any application, converts bytecode into machine language, and JVM is a part of Java runtime environment itself. Okay, so you consider your JVM is one entity available within your JRuby. We will elaborate little more about JVM over here. Okay, what it does. I wrote my program. Okay, in this program, I may be using some 5 to 10 predefined classes. Let's say 5 predefined classes I am using in my program. Where these classes are available, they are in the form of API. I am not writing my own class. Okay, this is my own class. But in this definition, I am adding some predefined class to be used. So when I will compile and give my .class file to JVM, in my JVM, there is something called class loader. Inside the JVM, we have something called class loader, which is very first entity comes in touch with your bytecode of a .class format. Now, what it does? It reads your program. Are you using any API classes? Yes. Then load the definition of my predefined class into current code. Okay. And then give this definition to your virtual memory, or let's say we call it as JVM memory, right? Which takes care of creating an object, creating a stack, creating a heap of the data objects, and likewise so. All the memory management it takes care of, right? Apart from this, we will see that after class loader, it is always interpreting the code and invoking something called as just-in-time compiler. What is this compiler and why we need? We already have a Java C compiler here. Why one more compiler is required or is been designed? That is to boost up the execution of your program. How would it boost up? Let me give you a simple example. I wrote my Java code with 5 line of statement initially. I compiled, tested it, saw the output, I'm satisfied. But yet, my code has to do some more activity. So I will add some more additional 10 line of code into my existing code. Converts it to .class. .class will then be given to my class loader. After the class loader, my just-in-time compiler will check that this is the same code which has been executed before. So, do not convert this 5 line of code into binary. Is already available with us. Do only the conversion of this 10 line of statement into its binary conversion. So, this is something boosting up the interpretation, compilation of my code while converting it to binary, and that is why it is increasing the performance of the application. But when you talk about the other programming language like C, C++, right? However, you are modifying an existing code. You need to save it, you need to recompile it, it gets reconverted into binary code and then gets started executing. And that is not the case over here because this JIT is into the picture, just-in-time compiler. Not only this, to avoid the redundant code conversion, it also does one very important thing, and that is called security check. What do you mean by security check? Obviously, identifying any virus or a threats attached to your bytecode. Suppose I wrote my Java program, I sent it to you over an internet to check, to see that this is what I have designed. Now, if you feel anything to be modified, you do it at your end. While downloading my bytecode, the .class version, there is some virus has attacked. Okay. Now, that virus is not in the form of bytecode. It may be with any other programming language which could not be understood by my JVM. And obviously, when I say JVM, it goes to your JIT. My just-in-time compiler checks my bytecode. Okay, this 15-line code I can understand because it is according to my language. But the remaining 3 line of code is not my language, right? It is not in the form of bytecode. It is in some different language. So it immediately stops or aborts an execution of the given Java code to keep its runtime environment or execution more secure. This is why we say that Java implements security at multiple levels. That is, once when you are writing your code, you can use Java Security API to implement your security logic. When it is compiling and executing, it implements one more security check with JIT, just-in-time compiler. So it's a double level of security check, and that is why my Java is most secure or better secure language known to be. How does JVM works? We already have seen that, right? JVM verifies, executes bytecode. Okay, there is a verifier, JVM verifier, which they call it as, and that is invoking internally your just-in-time compiler, which I just explained you about. Okay, so what your JIT does, improves the performance. How? Are useful if the same byte codes are executed repeatedly, like for when we are executing the looping constructs and many more scenarios, right? Translates my bytecode into native instructions, that is binary. Optimize repetitive code. Okay, optimize means only one time conversion from bytecode to binary for repetitive code will happen. Okay, and it also use some internal hotspot JVM, Java hotspot virtual machine, to implement better performance of the application. So that is something called as inside JVM, what you need to read about. When we are implementing the security, we already have seen language and the compiler we are using. Class loader is there to load the predefined classes. Your bytecode verifier, nothing but your JIT we have discussed. And internally, it implements the specific access specifiers. Okay, like your private, public, what we write into our programs, right? So those access specifiers are the one which also secures your code to not to be accessed by unauthorized entities. Before we go for that, let me explain you about the different edition of Java. We have a 3 edition, micro edition, standard edition, and enterprise edition. When I say a micro edition, some people may call it as mobile edition. So don't be too much confused about the different terms being used. Okay, they are mainly used to target the consumer space. That means your Android device and such kind of applications. Your standard, which is, as I told you, ground up development, is done with standard edition, which is a core which you need to know before going for J2ME or J2EE development. Okay. Then we have J2EE, which is an additional application server specific programs or software supports. Okay, so I can create the different web application, enterprise applications, and many more using J2EE edition. So initially we will start up with J2SE. Okay, after J2SE, which is known as core Java, we will move up to the advanced Java, which is a bridge between J2SE and J2EE. I'll explain you. And then we will move with the J2EE. Different technology and the tools. We are not going to use this Oracle J developer as a tool, but yes, if you are interested at any time, I will just give you a small demo on. But we will be using the Eclipse IDE. Okay, so what all you need to download to start writing your Java code? Very first, you need to download your JDK, Java Development Kit. Okay, so go to your Google because that is best tool to answer your query with much more efficient quality. Okay, so just say download the JDK. Select the JDK download version according to your system on which you are going to practice your entire course content. Okay, so let's say for me it is my Windows 64-bit. So either you download the binary version or the zip version, is completely up to you, for which you will need an account. To click on the specific version to download, okay, and then you need to install that JDK. Okay, so once you install the JDK, you need to do one thing to check whether your Java installed successfully or not. You will have to set two different environmental variables into your system. So let me tell you what are those two environmental variables you are going to set for. They are the path and the class path variables. Okay, which is available into your administration control. I will show it. Once you install Java, you may go to your Java installation directory. Let me take you over there. Under my C program files, I do have a Java install, JDK 1.8. This is what the installation will be done. Inside the JDK, for any binary execution, your compiler, JRE loader, you can see the JRE here. And this source is nothing but the definition of your Java API. It will be available to you in the form of zip format. I extracted this zip over here, and this is what exactly your API. So when I go to java.awt.io, these all are the predefined classes with their documentation. That means Just definition. Don't consider Java as open source, right? So you don't get the actual code, how it is written. It is an open source, you get an actual code, you do modify it and make it to work according to your requirement. But Java is not an open source, okay? So here, this is your directory called bin directory or binary version directory, which includes all executables, where you will find your compiler javac, where you will find your executor which will execute your Java program, and many more utilities. So this directory should be known by your operating system, and that is what we are going to set into your path variable. So copy this location. Okay, go to your system property, that means your this PC or my computer's property. Go to your advanced system settings, go to your environmental variables, and under your system variable, not under your user variable. Why? Because when you say it is user variable, it would be set only and only for particular user. So if you are practicing and logging with some other username, this settings or this configuration need to be done once again for the given user. So it is better to do it with your system variables. So go to the path variable, you will find it over here. If not, you may create it as a new. Give a name as a path and paste your URL here. Okay, starting with dot, but in our case we already have a path variable, so you just need to select this and say edit. Okay, and here you can see the environmental variable is already set for your Java JDK bin directory. Fine. If it is set, let us check. How can I check that it is correctly pointing to? For that, you need to start your DOS prompt by typing cmd into your run window. And here just type in as Java hyphen version to judge what Java version it is running, or it is successfully running or not. So the moment you type in this Java command, your system goes to the path variable, looks for any URL which is associated to java.exe, and that is something found at this location. When you look at this C program files, your Java JDK, B, and here you have java.exe. And this exe is executed for you, and because you are asking for the version of the executor, it is returning to you. So here you can make a note of that it is answering you about what runtime version it is using, what virtual machine version it is using, in which mode of the version it is. Okay, now this is we are set. Yes, no, it is not at all case sensitive. Yeah, for the Macintosh also it is the same steps. I would be giving you the detailed steps into the slide presentations, or maybe I'll be giving you one PDF which will help you to understand on which platform how to set your path. Okay, I would be sending you as a reference tutorials, so you can follow those steps. Now, path is not case sensitive, Shubhada, so you may type it in upper lower case. But it's better always, because sometimes what happens, our directories, the folder names are along with some blank space. So not to mistake anything, any character, or not to miss out any character, we should better copy and paste it. Okay, so let me show it to you. When I go to my this PC, okay, and going with this advanced property, I'm trying to change it with my path variable, add it into, going to the JDK, I'll say add it to my JDK, changing it to uppercase, set, say OK. The moment you do changes in a path variable, you should start new DOS prompt, okay? Remember this thing very importantly, because you are representing the locations that is in a local system. List of editors and IDEs available in the market. So in case of an editors, I may make use of a simple notepad. I may make use of a notepad plus plus. I may make use of an edit plus. I may make use of something called as a gel editor and many more. That is a huge list of which I can use. When we go to the IDEs, yes, I may have multiple options over here as well. For example, I may use JDeveloper. I may use NetBeans. I may use Eclipse. I may use something called IntelliJ. And maybe few more. I'm not able to recall the name. Okay. So whichever editors or IDs you feel you are comfortable with can be used to write your program. Let me start with the very common editor, Notepad. Okay, write very basic program of a Java kind. Okay, we will just make our Java to display us a hi message. Okay, I'm not going to explain you the structure because that we are going to do it little later. Okay, that's a public class. A class name is, let's say, hello, into which I'm going to write my main function. Okay, I'll explain you each single word. Okay, so as of now, I just want to show you how we are proceeding to write the code, how to compile it, how do we execute it. Why and what word we are writing, we will understand little later. Okay, I wanted to print a message saying, hi everyone. Okay, now very basic rule of Java. The file name must be the same as your public class name. I'll repeat. The file name of Java program must be the same name as public class name. Why am I stressing on public? We'll see in a few next few modules. Okay, so as of now, I should save my file with exactly the same name as this class name at any location of my choice. So I'm going on a desktop, creating my own folder for our entire course duration. I'm giving it as a name. Okay, let's say batch 1. Into this, I'm going to write as, let's say, hands-on code, and here I'm just typing it as hello dot java. That is important. Extension must be Java, and because I'm using Notepad, I don't want to take any chance just because below to it you see that the type of document it will consider by default as .txt. I don't want it as .txt. I want it as .java. So I invert quoted it. Okay, let's save this. Reached? Fine. Now compile. To compile the code, we need a Java C as a compiler. Give a name of your class file, hello.java. So when I'm compiling, I must supply its extension. The moment it completes compilation, let's see. It must have generated something called as .class file, right? The JVM specific byte code, what we have been talking about as platform independent code. So let's open this. By opening this file, I wanted to show you, are you able to understand this code? Let me check that. Okay, I'm going to use my notepad itself. And what is it explaining to you? Not exactly, right? This is what your JVM specific byte code we are looking at. To execute our code, we need to pass in the Java command and name of my file without any extension. Why no extension? Because the moment you say Java, it initiates and instantiates Java virtual machine. My Java command itself will invoke one Java virtual machine over here, which only reads the .class file and not .java file. So you need not to supply the extension because your JVM is smart enough to understand what to be looked for. Here is your message. When it was C++ where we were practicing, you could sometimes see .exe over here, am I right? But in case of Java, not available to you. Why? Because that is specific to your JVM, which is converting it and giving it to JRE, execute it, right? And that is dependent on the platform. So it is nowhere required for you to be available as file. What do you need? The .class file to execute the same program on a different platform. So if you wanted to execute my program, I can send you this .class file. You just download it, go to the particular location where it is downloaded and fire your Java command to execute your code. So you will not find .exe anymore listed over here. What is the sense of using different editors? Yes, because editors helps you by providing the different color schemes to your code, which helps you to identify any error, any typos, which I just did 2 minutes before. Okay, so if I am writing a Java code, so I may be saving it with, let's say, public class hello 2. Just type something, save this as, go on a desktop, go to your Intellipaat and on, give a name as hello2.java. That's it. And immediately you will see the color scheme has changed. Class, public. These are my keywords. Why they are keywords? They does have a specific meaning to the Java compiler. When I say public, it should be considered as access specifier. When I say class, it denotes the definition of class being designed or being defined, and likewise. Remaining characters are in the usual black characters. Let's start with our main method. Static void main. Now here I am passing string arguments. What do I want to print? Let's say I'm taking some input through the main method. I wanted to print them back. So I'm considering that arguments 0th position and arguments first position. I will be passing two parameters. Okay, let us save this code. Now I can execute the same code from the DOS prompt. Okay, so let's say Java C hello 2.java. Compile. Now I need to pass some argument to the main method. How you were doing with C++, it's in the same way. Java hello to pass your arguments. I will name it as argument 1, argument 2. And this 2 argument gets printed to our output screen. And these are readed over here as a main method arguments in the form of string array. Right? So this is a usage of editor. You see the different color schemes. What you are passing over here. Your constant value, yes. It can take off any number of arguments because here it is just pass by. So it may be 2, it may be 20. Okay, so kind of dynamic array you may think on. Okay, fine. So an advantage of using an editor, you can somehow help yourself to avoid the typos and even it increase your speed of writing the code as you understand any typos or bugs in advance. Also, you just Google it to download, then it will always come in a zip version. You need to extract it and then you directly go to its shortcut to start your Eclipse. The moment you start an Eclipse, it will prompt you for some workspace. Workspace is just like the one we created over here. In our case, on the desktop, I created one directory, right, where I am going to save my each and every code. So this directory can be your workspace. Okay, so it's just your usual directory what acts as a workspace, and what all code you will create or type in gets stored into that particular location. So soon you may expect that it is to become an open source. That totally depends on Oracle itself, right? It would be prompting me for the workspace. So I'm going to use this hands-on as my workspace area. My Java installation. So that is what we need to configure properly for Windows 64. You would be able to see the installation as well. Start JDK installation, it is prompting you. Do you need only JRE or the source code of a Java, or you need the JDK, development kit as well? What do you want it to install? Right? So you can select either all of three. The moment you say development kit, it will include your JRE. You can see the message, the feature description, what it tells to you. The first time, so it reads the configuration of a Java installation directory. So it takes time to start up the IDE, okay? Because it's for very first time. From the second time onwards, it doesn't take so long time. Okay?
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides Java certification online training, mentored by industry experts. The course link of which is given in the description below. Now, let's continue with